afraid is a normal thing with this virus because it can be deadly, and I'm just grateful that my symptoms are mild.
Tonight, mild symptoms or not, the Omicron variant is surging into Indigenous communities at an unprecedented rate.
The fact that taxis are a place where violence is occurring is troubling, to say the least.
In Whitehorse, a new study finds Indigenous women are more likely to report violence from cab drivers.
Well, so far I've observed 42 different species of bird, so it's pretty cool to think that you have that much just in your own backyard.
And here's a story you can peck away at. Residents of the Kahnawake Mohawk territory have been helping monitor local bird populations for more than 80 years. Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. We start tonight with the COVID-19 pandemic. New infections are surging in many parts of Canada. This was expected and predicted, but the question is, when will the wave peak and then start to drop? But the number of new infections threaten to overwhelm hospitals in many parts of the country. Today, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will be speaking with Canada's premiers about COVID-19. In Ontario, there are 2,467 COVID-19 patients in hospital. In Quebec, 2,554 people are hospitalized with the virus. The call with premiers comes after Canada's Health Minister Jean-Yves Duclos said last week it might be time for provinces to consider making vaccines mandatory. COVID-19 hospitalizations are hitting First Nations people hard. Indigenous Services Canada reports there were 2,480 First Nations people in hospital with COVID-19 as of last Friday. Alberta leads the country in COVID cases at nearly 15,000 cases. Northern Ontario cases continue to surge. Bearskin Lake First Nation declared a state of emergency. In Manitoba, nearly 40% of ICU admissions are First Nations people. Melanie McKinnon, First Nation COVID response team leader, says the current need for support in communities is on top of an already strained system.
That work isn't dissipated. That work is in addition to everything else that we have to do outside of the pandemic. And before the pandemic and during the pandemic, people were still getting sick with non-COVID related activities. There's still medevacs, there's still trauma, there's still accidents. So we have to ensure that those services are ready and available when our clients and our community members need them.
Members of the Canadian military have arrived in Bearskin Lake First Nation in Northern Ontario to help with the COVID-19 outbreak. More than half of the roughly 400 Northern Ontario community has tested positive for the virus. 4 local rangers are on the ground to help, but the community had asked for 10 times that number. The rangers will be in the community until January 23rd. Well, we sent a number of questions to Emergency Preparedness Minister Bill Blair's office looking for clarification on the military response. We have not heard back. Well, now to Newfoundland and Labrador. The province is reporting 455 new cases of COVID-19 and 2 deaths. There are 4 people in hospital. The province also adds 680 cases from a backlog in testing between December 29th and January 6th. Health Minister John Haggie says that the spike is historical and the data dumps will be higher for the next few days as the province catches up.
We still have 2,930 swabs not reported, and we are expecting those results within the next 24 to 48 hours. So again, you'll see an increment, but that is historical and reflects this period of high demand. Currently, the demand for testing is actually being met locally.
The province shifted its testing strategy to just high-risk populations during the holidays. Well, Indigenous communities in Labrador have been free of COVID-19 until now. With case numbers in double digits as of last week, everyone is now being encouraged to stay home. Here's Angel Moore.
Erin Saunders is a Inuk and lives in Goose Bay. She tested positive for COVID-19, but says her symptoms are mild and considers herself lucky.
We're all in this together, and being afraid is a normal thing with this virus because it can be deadly, and I'm just grateful that my symptoms are mild.
Natwashish Innu Nation is 300 kilometers north of Goose Bay. With over 900 people, the community is reporting 30 COVID cases. Sheshatshe Innu First Nation, 30 kilometers from Goose Bay, with over 1,000 people, is reporting 14 active cases. The case numbers may be higher in Natwashish as more test results come in. But more cases means more isolation, and that's an issue for the flying community lacking housing. Chief John Newey says that's his worry.
I hope the numbers stay the same where they are. But if we run into problems of get more numbers, and we need to isolate more people, we just don't have those resources, right? How, we have to find a way to get more isolate those people.
Newey says he has been assured the province will provide additional resources.
And I have spoken with the Premier already, if there's anything that you guys want us to do to help out more, please, to call him. So I'm gonna call him if I need to.
In Sheshatshe, about 400 people got their second and third shots at the community centre this week, and only community members are allowed inside the centre. Chief Eugene Hart is confident yet cautious.
It's a whole new ball game because we don't know. Sometimes we don't know which direction to go, because if you go this way, you don't even know if you're going to hit it there, or it's a hit and miss.
The province is reporting over 4,000 active cases, with 784 active cases in the Labrador-Grenfell region. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Jabotuk, also known as Halifax.
Thanks, Angel. Well, we want to hear how COVID is affecting you or your family or community. Here's how you can weigh in. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca. You can leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see all of our latest stories. Well, a new survey from the Yukon is reporting some disturbing statistics. Indigenous women are more likely to report violence and harassment when using taxi cabs in Whitehorse. Here's Sarah Connors with that story.
The Yukon Women's Coalition has released a new taxi safety report. It shows Indigenous women are more likely to report incidents involving violence and harassment when using a taxi cab in Whitehorse compared to non-Indigenous women. The survey started last year after a woman shared a sexualized violence encounter she had with a Whitehorse taxi driver on a Facebook group, sparking public outcry. The survey found Indigenous women reported higher rates of violence, harassment, or encounters that made them feel unsafe or targeted when using Whitehorse cabs. They were also more likely, compared to non-Indigenous women, to not report incidents in taxi cabs to Whitehorse bylaw services.
The fact that taxis are a place where violence is occurring is troubling, to say the least.
Asia Basin, executive director of the Yukon Status of Women Council, which conducted the survey, says she's not surprised by the findings.
We know, using an intersectional feminist lens, that Indigenous women in particular experience high rates of violence, disproportionately so across multiple different metrics.
The survey recommends improvements like increasing driver training and enhancing camera integrity so all women can feel safer when taking a cab.
Women need access to transportation to move through the world with safety and access to economic security, and furthermore as a means to be able to escape situations that are unsafe for them.
Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Back in Manitoba, 2 First Nations women have pleaded guilty for their part in a violent racist attack on a black man in Brandon 2 years ago. Winnipeg Free Press reports one woman spent 225 days in jail for her role in the attack. It occurred near a downtown skateboard park. Another young woman has been given probation for her role. 2 other women and a man have not had their day in court yet. The victim was jumped by the First Nations man and the 4 women piled on. Witnesses say racial slurs were hurled by the First Nations attackers at their black victim, who was also stabbed. He has since made a full recovery. We need to take a break, but still ahead, protests take over the Trans-Canada Highway in BC today. We will tell you why. Stay with us. Welcome back. Environmental groups in British Columbia have been calling on the provincial government to stop old-growth logging. And today, one group held multiple protests on the BC Trans-Canada Highway. APTN's Lee Wilson reports.
Took to the highway in Nanaimo, Victoria, Vancouver, and the interior BC. Environmental group Extinction Rebellion is disrupting traffic in one direction on the Trans-Canada Highway in those places to pressure the BC government to put a stop to old-growth logging. Vic Bryce, an organizer and spokesperson in Nanaimo, says old-growth forests are a vital part of regulating the environment.
There's been a lot of good words, but it's all been talk and log, and frankly, we're running out of time. So the time for talking is over. The time is now for action.
Lee Wilson, APTN National News, Kitimat.
The federal government says they've reached the largest settlement in Canada's history, $40 billion for victims of the child welfare system. But the policy leading to the agreement in principle is only connected to the First Nations Child and Family Services program administered on reserves and in the Yukon. Our reporter Charlotte Mort-Jacobs looks into what this means for the Northwest Territories, who have land claims and self-government, but have also suffered from the system's shortcomings.
The draft settlements have been agreed to in principle with a deadline of March 31st to be ratified. It would act as a final settlement from multiple lawsuits brought forth by First Nations groups against the Canadian government. Of the $40 billion, half is intended to go towards compensation for 3 decades of children being unnecessarily taken from families and caregivers from 1991. The other half is intended to go towards reforming the child welfare system for First Nations over a period of 5 years. But the January 4th announcement did not directly include the Northwest Territories. While the NWT has 2 federal reserves, the Katlodetche First Nation and the Salt River First Nation, those are the only 2 federal reserves of the 33 communities here. According to Dene National Chief Gerald Antoine, he met with an assembly of First Nations for an emergency conference on the matter. A spokesperson to the Dene Nation told APTN that there would be little movement on the file until February as negotiations continue to take place. But keep in mind, with many land claims and self-governments groups across the Northwest Territories, each have their own unique perspective and ideas on their pursuits of justice for children taken from child welfare policies in the Northwest Territories, and their positions may differ greatly from Southern reserves. We'll have more on this later on this week. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Looking forward to that, Charlotte. Thanks. The 60 Scoop Healing Foundation announced in December that some organizations across the country will receive funding as part of their pilot grant program, but one Alberta group questions why they weren't included. Tamara Pimentel has that story.
8 organizations across the country are getting over $1 million in funding from the new 60 Scoop Healing Foundation. It's the first round of grants meant to restore the health, healing, and wellness of survivors. But not one organization from Alberta made the cut.
It misses opportunities where we could provide any kind of cultural support, ceremonial learning protocols.
Sandra Relling is the CEO of the 60 Scoop Indigenous Society of Alberta. It represents over 1,000 survivors. She says the society wasn't given an opportunity to apply. In a news release, the foundation stated invitations were sent to organizations. But the SSISA says it didn't get that invite.
It's really disappointing for us that we don't have the opportunity or the means to actively seek out those opportunities.
The CEO of the Healing Foundation, Jacqueline Maurice, stated in the release that this is the first round of grants. She wrote, "Though we are starting on a small scale, we will continue to provide more grant support next year as the foundation gets off the ground." Relling says she wants to see more transparency for the next round of grants. Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Calgary.
APTN did reach out to the Healing Society for a response, but we have not yet heard back from them. Well, just west of Edmonton, the Confederacy of Treaty 6 First Nations welcomed their new Grand Chief on Friday. Alexander First Nations Chief George Arcand Jr. will head up the Confederacy next year. Chiefs from across Treaty 6 welcomed the incoming Grand Chief. He takes over from previous Grand Chiefs Vernon Watchmaker and Greg Desjardins. Arcand Jr. says the COVID epidemic is going to be a high priority for him.
What we have to encourage is our people to continue to stay safe. When I talk about staying safe, I'm talking about us getting the vaccinations that are necessary. Continue to look at our pipe, continue to look at our traditional ways to help us get past some of these things. Our communities are hurting right now. As you listen to the news all across Canada, the First Nation communities are being challenged as we speak with COVID. And it's because our people are not getting vaccinated. And we have to change that.
It's time for another break, but when we come back, counting birds in Mohawk territory, an 80-year tradition. Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's check out our photo of the day. This was sent to us by Sandra Seidel. This was the sunrise over the frozen waters of West Hawk Lake, located in southeastern Manitoba. Looks like a great place for a hot tub, hey? Well, we want to share your photos with the rest of Canada. You can send in your pictures to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be featured as our next photo of the day. Let's take a look now at tomorrow's weather forecast. To the east coast, we've got sunshine at -8 for St. John, sunny too in Halifax, -7. Kuujjuaq, you got sunshine but -24. Chilly there. Happy Valley Goose Bay, snow -19. Lots of snow in southern Quebec. Saint-Jovite, -20. Montreal, -19. North Bay, some snow and -14. Looks like you're getting snow too. Sault Ste. Marie, -6 there. Kapuskasing, snow -10. Big Trout Lake, snow -16. Snow continues in northern Manitoba, -30 for Churchill. God's Lake, -16. Mix of sun and cloud, and -2 for Winnipeg Dauphin, -1 with a mix of sun and cloud. Lots of sunshine for southern Saskatchewan, 0 for Saskatoon and North Battleford. Snow for Buffalo Narrows, -12, sunshine, but -25 for Stony Rapids and Uranium City. Snow and -21 for Fort Chip, 3 and sunshine for Grand Prairie. 5 and sunny for Edmonton, 9 and sunshine for Lethbridge. 3 and cloudy for Quesnel. Campbell River, you're looking at 6 with some showers. Dease Lake, mix of sun and cloud and 13 degrees. Prince George, sunny and a 4. Rock River, -18 and snow. Old Crow, -31. You're getting snow too. Wauatee, sunshine and -29. Fort Liard and Trout Lake, both -20 and snow. Polytech, -28 and sunny. Tech, snow, -29. Whale Cove, -33 and snow. Same with you, Chesterfield. Igloolik, sunshine, -36. Joe Haven, -28 and sunny. Well, we have some sad news to share. Earl Muldon, also known as Chief Delgamuukw, he has passed on. A longtime Gitxsan hereditary chief, he was named plaintiff in a groundbreaking 1997 Supreme Court case. Delgamuukw versus British Columbia described Aboriginal rights and title for the first time. Muldon was a renowned carver and artist who sought to preserve Northwest Coast design and Gitxsan culture. He won the BC Lifetime Achievement Award for Aboriginal Art in 2009 and was appointed to the Order of Canada the following year. Stuck between the city of Montreal and its South Shore suburbs, the Mohawk territory of Kahnawake serves as a welcome oasis for many things, including several species of migratory birds. So it's no surprise that Lindsay Richardson brings us a story that is not just for the birds.
For more than 80 years now, come Christmas time, birders across the country turn all eyes to the sky. The annual Christmas bird count is a long-standing tradition, one only recently practiced here on Kahnawake Mohawk territory. But locals can attest, there's a lot to see.
Well, so far I've observed 42 different species of bird. So it's pretty cool to think that you have that much just in your own backyard.
Anawa Jacobs works with the Kahnawake Environmental Protection Office and is the brains behind Birding on the Res, an immersive live stream experience providing a glimpse of biodiversity in her own backyard.
We're one of the greenest areas in the Greater Montreal area, right? We have beautiful forests and wetlands. I've been feeding the birds in my backyard for about 10 years, and one day I started using a GoPro and started live streaming. It was during the pandemic. We were isolated and nobody was really able to do anything. It was a way to connect people back to nature and to connect them to each other as well.
The count is open to anyone. Some keep coming back, like David Smith.
It's a wonderful community. When you're out here not seeing a whole lot of birds and cold, you have something in common, right? You all suffer together.
The goal is pretty obvious. Get out in the field and count the birds. Tech.
Oh. Can we get a picture of him?
And technique.
Look for the face pattern if possible.
They have a spotted butt, which is really funny because they have the white underbelly.
Both key to a proper ID.
Oh, brown creeper.
The information, once collected and cataloged, is submitted to national organizations, revealing multitudes about climate change and species evolution.
When I first came here, cardinals were pretty rare. They weren't really a very common bird in this part of the world. Whereas now we're going to walk up here today and we'll probably see 30, 40 cardinals. And so, there's an indication that cardinals they're moving north essentially. Same thing for other species that we won't see that we might have seen once upon a time, which will be a reflection either of declines in the species or in the fact that this whole environment is changing.
The inland and seaway teams spotted some usual suspects, like a brace of mallards and some hooded mergansers, and some unusual, like a pair of bald eagles. But sometimes it only takes a single winged thing to set off excitement.
You see it raise and lower the tail? That's a hermit thrush, guaranteed. Okay. That's fabulous. That's a fantastic bird. I've never seen one here in 30 years of birding. Never seen one here at this time of year. That's in springtime. That's one of the first thrushes that comes back. And it's a lovely bird. It has a fabulous song.
The overall tally in 2021 didn't break Gunawage's all-time record of 76 species counted, but it's a big picture project, building on the smallest of thrills.
Well, just the beauty and simplicity of nature, you know, taking appreciation for something so small can really bring us a lot of joy.
Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Gunawage, Mohawk Territory.
Absolutely, can bring you a lot of joy. If you're not following Birding on the Res on Facebook, you should be. Have it on in the background while you work at home if you're on lockdown right now. Also, if you've got cool birds in your yard, take a camera along your travels and send us photos to share at aptn.ca. You could be our next photo of the day with your bird pictures. That is all for your national news to kick off a brand new week. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Thanks, of course, for joining us. If you've missed anything lately, you can go catch up on aptnnews.ca. Have a great night.